Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the TPN podcast. Now, welcome to this special evening edition of the TPN podcast, where you will notice today I am by myself and without my good old friend Tommy Bowyer. Don't you worry, he will be back for the main edition of the TPN podcast. This is a little evening one where it's not going to be strictly the same sort of format. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently in my own personal evening show, which is what we're going to call it. Don't worry, we're still going to aim for the Wednesday show, as you're going to get used to with me and Tommy, where we will have our conversation and battle forth in some of our views, which in the upcoming Tory leadership elections, there's going to be a good chance that me and Tommy are going to be fighting different corners, because we have both come out in support of different candidates for the Tory leadership. With my good old friend Tommy Bowyer, he's come out in support of Sajid Javid, which obviously I think he is also a very capable politician. He's got a good track record, but I also think that he is not quite the right Prime Minister for now, despite how capable he may be and how good of a Home Secretary I think he has been. And he has very good leadership, he has very good leader qualities in him, but for now I believe that the country needs a Brexiteer Prime Minister. That's of what I'm saying. Tommy is also a Brexit Prime Minister. Brexit Brexit backer. He wanted Brexit just as much as I do. So it's interesting to see that he would go with a Remainer. But Sajid Javid has indeed come out in support of Brexit, saying we must honour the referendum, and that he will honour the referendum result, regardless of what that outcome may be. So, Sajid Javid, yes, he is a good politician, and while personally I don't see him as the leader for this year, but I definitely do see him as a strong leader. Now, he may get it, he's got a good chance, he's very popular, he's got good backing, but let's go to who I think will be the next Tory, who I think should be the next Tory Prime Minister. Now, you've seen a lot of back and forth. You will see a lot of back and forth between me and Tommy in the recent podcast as we debate why we think such and such should be. We're both conservatives. We both believe in conservatism, and it's going to be a fun, interesting campaign to see back and forth, like what we think. But in that case, though, who I think should be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, I've done a lot of thinking about this. I've done a hell of a lot of thinking. From last TPN podcast, we went through the candidates, quite a few candidates. Some new names have been added to the list since we spoke on Wednesday. But I've been looking at all the candidates, and, well, I must admit, I do quite like Boris. He's a very charismatic character. Very flamboyant. He's got very good leadership qualities in him. He did a good job as Mayor of London. Now as the Foreign Secretary, he may have fumbled up some numbers during them, and his information retention wasn't too brilliant, but he still did quite a lot of good things as Foreign Secretary, such as the things he did about Russian spies. Now, he did a good job on weeding a lot of them out that were in the country, so props to Boris. He's got very good leadership qualities to him, and he is one who I believe would be able to negotiate Brexit. But on the flip side of that, that's not who I will be supporting, despite quite liking Boris. He's quite a jolly good old character, if I must say. But for me personally, the person who I wish to be the next Tory leader is going to be Dominic Raab. Now, people might be a bit surprised. Dominic Raab, why would you pick him? We got Tommy on the... we also have Tommy in comments saying that he wishes me good spirits. So, thank you, Tommy. But back to topics. Dominic Raab is who I will be supporting in this leadership contest. For main reasons. I think Dominic Raab is a superb fellow. He talks a lot of sense. It's exactly. But the main reason why I'll support him over Boris is that he brings a freshness to politics that we so need. he doesn't go by the status quo that we're all used to. He basically, what he wants to do is bring a good message to politics. He doesn't want to just be the Conservative leader. He wants to make politics nice again, in my opinion. He's already got the Clean Campaign Pledge, which was his idea to begin with, and that, I think, is a good idea. He shows that he is someone who has respect for his peers and respect for people's other views as well. He comes across as a very respectable and nice gentleman, in my opinion. He's got a lot of good leadership qualities to him, in the fact that he doesn't believe in just coming in and shouting his way through. He believes in coming in, getting the job done, but doing it in a nice way, without basically scoring petty political points. I believe he stands for a lot of good issues, on social issues as well. Yeah, he used to be a lawyer, and in that he championed many great causes as his term as a lawyer before becoming an MP. So he's got a lot of good qualities to him that I quite like, and the fact that he would bring a fresh revamp to the Conservative Party is why I'm supporting him, because he's younger, he's got more of a fresh outlook. I said he's not tainted by the current cabinet of Theresa May, which is one of the main reasons why I am against Michael Gove becoming leader, because despite how capable as a education secretary and justice, now even environmental, he's been quite a very capable environmental secretary, but I couldn't see Michael Gove as leader, because I have a few issues with Michael Gove, and that's trust and him changing his position on many things, and especially in the 2016 leadership election where he stabbed Boris in the back. I thought that was very slippery and a very, very bad thing to do. So with that said, that's who I will be supporting in the Tory leadership contest. Next time Tommy joins us, I'm sure we will have a good debate on why we think such and such should be Prime Minister, because we have slightly different views there, I'd say, in terms of who we're backing. But at the same time, we still believe in the same things pretty much. We still want Brexit. We still believe the way forward is in a Conservative government and not in a Marxist loony-led government by Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell and, God forbid, Diane Abbott doing your numbers. Oh dear, I couldn't think of anything worse than a Marxist government dealing with our economic policy. God no. You're probably thinking, Matthew, why aren't you in a shirt and tie or a suit? Well, to answer your question to that, it's a Friday evening. Now, on a Friday evening, I can't be bothered to dress up smart. I like to sit back and relax with a good old gin and tonic. That's what I like to do. So that's basically what the Friday edition, or the evening edition of the T-Pen Podcast is going to be. It's going to be more of a laid-back and chill approach to the political news. So we got my good old friend Tommy Bow in the comments. He's saying Sajid is my personal choice. Yes, Tommy, we've already gone through the Tory leadership choices that we've set out, and I quite frankly look forward to debating with you on why we think our candidates should go for Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. That would make a very interesting topic for the next podcast we do. And finally, put the debating and contemplating debating, because I really want us to have a good old debate, which, nothing wrong with that, which I'm sure we will get to close to the time. Anyway, with that said, what I originally wanted to do today was talk about the prospects of a no-deal Brexit. But before we get onto that segment, I want to talk about the recent news in today, and that is Labour's come out in their latest round of anti-Semitism claims. Now, today they have suspended, pending investigation, Peter Williamson. Now, he's a member of Labour's ruling board, the NEC, and apparently he's been suspended over remarks he made about the party's anti-Semitism. Now, Labour has been quite in a lot of news since Jeremy Corbyn's got in power. The whole row of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party has become quite a prominent thing. There's been so many complaints about it, and it just shows about what the Labour Party is, in my opinion. Naturally, LBC did a good piece on this. They actually got hold of the recording of him saying some naughty things. Basically, he's saying that the whole anti-Semitism thing against Jeremy Corbyn was a fictional thing made up by the Israeli embassy. Now, yeah, I don't know what you can think of that. That's quite a preposterous claim. Now, Labour has actually come out and suspended this chap. And quite frankly, to Labour's credit, good on them. They have a serious problem with anti-Semitism in their membership at the moment, and the better they weed that out, the better. But I think the whole row of anti-Semitism does stem deeper within the Labour Party, not just in some of their members. I think it's quite an important issue, and anti-Semitism, quite frankly, has no place in our politics or nor our country, for a matter of fact. But what people are not impressed with is that they've suspended this guy for making outright anti-Semitic statements. Now, there's no excuse for discriminating against Jewish people. There's no room on earth for these sort of claims or comments. But what people are angry about is that they suspended him pending investigation. So he's not fully out of the party. He's just suspended for now with a chance he could rejoin. Now, if we look back of the news of yesterday about Alistair Campbell. Now, Alistair Campbell, he was kicked out, full stop, out of the Labour Party. Now, the reason why he did this was because he came out and said after the EU election he voted Liberal Democrats because he's a Remainer and backs a second referendum. Now, you all know my views on a second referendum, so we don't agree there, and the fact he was Labour probably tells you we don't agree on many issues anyway. But he was part of Tony Blair's team, basically. He was their spin doctor on things, so he was quite deep in the Blair cabinet. Well, not cabinet because he wasn't an MP, but in the Blair administration, in a sense. So he was quite deep in that. So, and he came out and said that he supported the Liberal Democrats, and Labour kicked him out. Now, Labour shouldn't kick him out because, one, he still claims he's a Labour supporter and true. But I think this highlights a bigger problem, that Labour kicked them out because he had enough of Labour's stance. Now, I do not agree with his stance on Brexit, full stop. But to his credit, at least he had a stance, whereas Labour flip-flop, always on the edge and cannot make their mind up what they want to do. And that has annoyed many of the voters. You see many Brexit voters of Labour. There's, I think, about 40% of the Labour voter base backed Brexit. Now, you've seen a lot of Labour voters go to the Brexit Party who backed Brexit, and a lot of Brexit voters who supported Remain and want to stay in the EU went to the Liberal Democrats. So I think the main issue at hand is that people are fed up of Labour not having a solid position on just where they stand on Brexit, as well as many other issues, which, well, I'm not going to get into because we're nowhere near a general election yet. So, and I'm sure if it was to come anytime sooner, me and Tommy will have a field day ribbon about Labour's policies, because that's what we did in 2017. I'm sure next time around we'll have a field day doing it, I'm sure. So, was Labour right to expel Alistair Campbell? Well, to be honest, if you don't believe in the party and you're not a member of the party, then why are you a part of it? That's one flip side of the argument. But he used his vote for the Liberal Democrats as a protest vote, though. He did that to send a message, not to say, I no longer support Labour's policies, which I definitely don't. But it wasn't about, I don't support Labour anymore. It was about, I want this sorted. I want a clear position on this. And, yeah, that's what people were worried about. So, I'll take the question to you. Was Labour right to expel Alistair Campbell? or was he not? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. So that takes me back. How come it's acceptable for Labour to suspend a party member because they voted for another because they claim to have voted for another party after the general election, which their policy is a bit of a fine line there. We could see it so in Labour's policy that it's against their policy to come out in support of another party during an election campaign. Which, yeah, okay, that is against many policies. I get that, but he came out after the election and said he voted for Liberal Democrats. But also in the same interview on LBC, he did say that he does still support Labour. So was he right? I don't know. I'd like to hear what you think down below, which links us back to good old the anti-Semitism in Peter Williamson. Is it acceptable that they just suspend him pending investigation? Whereas for Astor Canberra, they kicked him right just out of the party? Quite frankly, I think anti-Semitism is a far worse offence than voting for Liberal Democrats, despite what I think of Liberal Democrats and Vince Cable. Well, yeah, safe to say we won't get along if we were in a room about a political discussion. But I'm sure over a cup of tea they're good fellows in a social context. But apart from that, I think the atmosphere would go dry. Lovely refreshing gin and tonic on a Friday evening, never hurt anybody. So, let's talk about Brexit. Well, this whole thing is around Brexit. So, what I wanted to talk about today is the prospects of leaving with no deal. Now, no deal, as I'm sure Project Fear will try to say, it's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be a complete catastrophe. UK is going to go to absolute chaos and absolute... Oh, God. The way that Remain has tried to spin this is absolutely dreadful. And also, let's not just say Remain. Let's talk about some of the Conservative cabinet, not to mention any names in particular. Philip Hammond, who, well, basically, let's just admit, Philip Hammond's a hardcore Remainer. He always has been and always will be. But he's not going to come out and strictly say he's in support of Remain, because the official Conservative stance is of Leave, and I think that will be the official stance. But Conservatives need to become a fully fledged Leave party. We can't have half in, half out, bit in the middle, bit there, bit of that. We can't quite decide. We've got to be a fully Leave party, whether if that's with a good deal or not. Now, it's quite interesting to see Philip Hammond said he didn't quite say he will. He planted the suggestion in our heads that if the next Conservative PM was to go push a motion, well, not push a motion because it's already in law in Article 50, we would leave the EU with or without a deal on the 30th of October, and many Brexit supporting PMs have said they will take us out regardless if we have a deal or not, because that is what the law states. But it's quite interesting with Philip Hammond. He came out and said that suggested that he might vote in no confidence of his own government if the next leader was to push for no deal. You're probably thinking, Philip Hammond, why would you do that? Are you that against your own party, against democracy, against what people voted for, that you would go against your own party just to get your own way? And even if you did trigger an election, pursue us into chaos, why would Philip Hammond risk us being led by Marxist economic policy? I know he's strictly against that, so why would he open the chance for that? Because it's not like Brexit's going to get any more simpler if we had Jeremy Corbyn run the scene. In fact, it would be a complete and utter catastrophe in terms of what we actually voted for. That's what would happen. But come on, Philip, you got to be bluffing. You can't be serious. You absolutely cannot be serious in suggesting you would vote against your own government and allow Jeremy Corbyn to get into power. That has got to be a bluff. as many things as the Remain party said. Just think of George Osborne before he was out of a job as Chancellor. He said we're going to lose all these jobs. We're going to have an emergency budget. The economy is going to go down the pot. It's going to be absolutely a catastrophe. Even if we vote to leave the European Union. Not if we leave, if we vote to leave. And despite of what George Osborne said, business is booming, the economy is up, jobs up, unemployment is down. And what do you say? What do you think? The Leave campaign trying to spin us into fear, Project Fear. That's what they try to do, and it's not going to work now. And with Philip Hammond, with your claims that you're going to try and bring down the government, it's not going to work now. Your side of Remain has tried to bluff so much to try and stop and frustrate Brexit, and we as people have had enough. That is why the Conservatives lost so many seats and MEPs and so many voters in the European elections, because people have had enough of people trying to frustrate Brexit using whatever petty power they possibly can. That's a bit of a rant there, wasn't it? Anyway, let's go back to the prospects of no-deal Brexit, shall we? Now, no-deal Brexit is, as people try to get us to be scared of, is essentially when we leave the European Union with a withdrawal agreement, or hopefully without Theresa May's terrible withdrawal agreement. But as Article 50 still states, we will leave the European Union on the 30th of October with or without a deal. That is the law, and MPs cannot, I repeat, cannot frustrate or delay this anymore. It's been delayed by far more than it should have done. So, no deal Brexit, is it really no deal? Well, technically, we don't have a handshake agreement like this is it, hello EU, this is it, this is what you're going to do. Well, it's not really what we're going to do, it's what they're going to do to us. Really, they're telling they want to set the terms. That's why the withdrawal agreement couldn't pass. But basically, no deal is when we will leave on World Trade Organization rules. Now, now the government has stepped up preparation again for no deal Brexit. James Cleverly, who surprisingly he's running for Conservative leader. He's actually in charge of no deal preparations for exiting the European Union. So yeah, another good contender for leader, possibly, because he does believe in Brexit and believes he will take us out regardless. And he's also the man doing the preparation for the job as well. So I'd imagine he knows what he's talking about as well, because he's having to do the preparation. That is his job. That is his role in the Brexit cabinet. Not Brexit cabinet, Brexit department, should I say. So we would leave with under World Trade Organization rules. Now, the EU don't really want us to do that, because they want us to be wrapped around their finger in the common market, the customs union, because they notice if we were to leave them, there would be a massive knock-on effects of the European economy, because they're more scared of us leaving them than we are scared to leave them. They need us more than we need them. And now everyone's thinking, if we're leaving on WTO terms, how are we going to get goods into Europe? Oh my days. Well, you think just because we're going to leave on WTO terms that we're just going to have our head in the sand and one day think, hang on, let's just leave entirely. We've done no preparation. We've done none of that. We don't need it. Well, that's where you're wrong, because the government has done lots of preparation for this, as well as the EU have done much preparation for leaving with no deal as well. So to think that no one's going to cope under no deal is absolutely preposterous. Now, under WTO terms, we're still going to be trading. We're still going to get goods flown into our country. We're still going to be trading. There's no doubt about that. Unless, for some reason, Europe's going to play dirty and block our trade, which, yeah, they most certainly won't do that, that's for sure. So, in that prospect of WTO, we can still trade with the EU like how we would trade with the rest of the world. Under WTO terms, unless we can trigger something called Article 24, Which, okay, given that the EU also need to be in agreement with us as well, so it's not like a one-way thing. It's not like we can just point to them and say Article 24. That's not how it works. They've got to be in agreement with us as well. So with that said though, Article 24 means a 2-year period after we've left on WTO terms where we can trade with the EU tariff-free basically. And that 2 years of frictionless free trade and basically a good period of certainty of easy trade between the two countries, between the UK and the EU. That's 2 years. That's 2 years of good certainty of trading. Now, EU of course have got to agree to that, but in that 2 years we can essentially knock out the few crannies and nucks, and essentially if they want to come to us and make a proper deal, then of course we're all arms, welcome them. Yes, okay, brilliant, we would love to make a deal. We would love to make a trade agreement, but we would not love to make an agreement that still ties us into your political union that we've had enough of, and quite frankly, the way you've bullied many countries into signing many of your treaties by basically democracy. You have a vote. Oh yes, you've had a vote on that treaty, the Maastricht Treaty, for example, or the Maastricht Treaty that's quite a while ago. Let's think of more a recent treaty that I definitely know the EU did force many countries to sign up. The Lisbon Treaty is one of them. They get countries, they have the vote on whether they want to adapt this treaty. They say no. The EU says, hang on a minute, how would you like to vote on it again? You said no again. How would you like to vote on it again? Oh, you've said no again. Oh, okay. Vote on it again. Why don't you? Please say yes this time and we'll stop hassling you. Oh, you said yes. Great. Right, off the races. We're not going to hassle you anymore. Okay. That's basically how the EU does their treaties. Just constantly get you to vote on it till you've just had enough and you just say yes. That's why we, as a United Kingdom, has said no to the EU. We've had enough of the way you do things. So I think clean break Brexit, as we're calling it, no deal WTO terms, whatever you call it, a clean break is what we need. We don't need any more ties to this political union. Yes, we still want to trade, but we don't want any more of the ties. And if the EU do not agree to Article 24 for that 2-year implementation period, well, okay, the harsh reality of a no-deal Brexit is that goods from Europe will probably see a price increase. There's no doubt about that, because under WTO terms, initially, unless we can make special trade agreements between the two parties, it's not under WTO terms. It means we cannot discriminate against our tariffs. So if we set a 10% tariff for the EU, it means we have to set a 10% tariff for the rest of the world. So I guess, yes, in the meantime, prices of goods in the EU will go up about 10 to 20%. I highly doubt that they would go up more. But if that's what has to happen for the EU to finally get their heads in gear and actually make a fair trade deal with us, then that's just what it's going to have to take, unfortunately. There's going to be a little bit of rough road and uncertainty to begin with in our initial departure, but then we're going to be free of the EU and we can make deals with the rest of the world and still have that trade with Europe, and just like they did eventually with Canada, make a good trade agreement where we can trade our goods under low tariffs as well. So if that has to happen, that's what has to happen. Unfortunately, that is the harsh reality, but it means the prospects that are open to us once we've left the ties, every single tie of the European Union, the prospects open to us are great. You've heard, if you watch many of the news, many of the podcasts, or even study geography, for example, I don't know, Tommy would find this particularly amusing. We learned about different economies in the world and and also the emerging economy. So you got countries such as India, China, even America is already a fully developed economy, but that is one that we can make a good trade agreement with. Donald Trump's even come out and said that he would make a good deal with us. Donald Trump, out of all people, you'd think. Obama, I remember during the 2016 referendum, Obama said, if you lot leave the EU, vote to leave the EU, you've probably told this by David Cameron, to be honest with you, wouldn't surprise me. If you leave the EU, you're going to be back of the queue. if you want a trade agreement, you're back of the queue. And the UK, we do not like being told what to do by foreign powers. And Mr. Obama, the UK did not like you telling them what to do. And exactly the opposite happened. Trump got in charge and said, "Welcome to the front of the queue. Life is brilliant." So America is more than happy to trade with us outside the European Union. And once we've officially left, now we can't officially make a trade agreement because the EU will not let us until we have actually left them. That is the horrible thing about the EU. They're so bound on trying to control you. They will essentially try anything to try and keep you in the grasp and try and make your life a misery. This is why we need this clean break. Then we can get this trade agreement negotiated with the rest of the world, with America, with the World Trade Organization. We can open our market up to so much. Then we have the control on what we say, how much we're going to charge for that, and we also can set our own tariffs on essential items such as clothing, such as footwear, which the EU set tariffs on that. The EU control how much we can charge on that. Now, clothing, food and footwear, now in society, in the poor societies, they are one of the most important things for poorer working class families on the poorer end. Being able to have cheaper clothing, food and items, that would benefit so many lower income families. Being able to then boost our economy up, which means in the end we could have cheaper prices after all and benefit us. If our economy's booming, it means we could possibly have the prospect of lower taxes as well. If we can make a success out of this, we can make our country brilliant. Without trying to say too patriotic and chump-like in terms of make America great again, I'm not going to go down that route. So essentially, we have so many good prospects that we can make a success out of. So yeah, that's really what we need to do now. So let's talk about quickly other headlines. Donald Trump is coming to the UK. Yes, boys, let's get in there. The Trump is coming. Now, regardless of your views on Donald Trump, yes, there are a lot of issues, even as a conservative myself. I do have some problems with Donald Trump's social policies. Now, economically, I think Donald Trump is good. He's good in that department. Economically, Donald Trump has made very good decisions. He's made very good economic decisions for America. The economy is booming under them. So many jobs have come back to England now. We have to wait and see just in Trump's latest trade war how that's going to affect the US economy. We're going to have to wait and see with his trade war with China. Now he's even threatening to stop imports. I mean, not imports. He's threatening to raise tariffs, skyrocket them, for Mexico if they don't tackle illegal immigration. Now he's using trade and tariffs as his weapon, as his tactical approach. Now, I have to say with China, that could either go one of two ways, because China also can say, we're putting your tariffs up as well, and trade between them until they reach an agreement. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and see with that. But Donald Trump is planning a state visit to the United Kingdom very soon. And he's also going to be having a meeting with the Queen as well. That would be very interesting. I wish they would live stream that. That would be pure comedy gold. So, Trump is coming on Monday. Monday is the day Trump comes to England. Now, what regards of your views on Trump, I've already stated my piece on Trump. I think he's good economically, socially. There's a lot of problems that I disagree with him on, especially under Republican governments and their current views on abortion and a few right issues as well of minority communities as well. There's a few issues of Republicans could do much better on that. Let's say the Conservatives of England are much better, and actually their policies are of the 21st century, where some especially the recent abortion laws that are passing, which very backwards, and that could be bad in some cases. I don't agree with it, but yeah, I don't really comment too much on US politics because I'm not too heavily involved or knowledgeable of the topics, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. But Donald Trump's state visit to the UK. Now he's going to come in, he's going to come on Air Force One, he's going to have his parade, he's going to have the typical American style come through. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So as Trump does, he's going to spend his millions, he's going to have a lavish time in England, as he always does, because he's filthy stinking rich. And quite frankly, if I was that rich, I wouldn't blame him. But I've seen many people call for Trump, saying, "Oh, we can't allow Donald Trump into England. He's a racist." Well, I wouldn't agree that he's a racist in my opinion, but regardless of your views, we still need to make sure that we have a healthy relationship with Donald Trump and America. America is our biggest ally. And to think that we're going to try and frustrate our biggest ally coming over and talking business with us, don't think. Just think, he's always going to give us that good trade deal between us and America, which a lot of money's going to come from. So don't discredit Trump just because of some views you have of him. We still need that good, healthy cooperation with the US in order to secure good deals with them and good cooperation with them. Look, Jesus Christ. So I want to pass the question off to you. Do you think Donald Trump should be boycotted for coming to the UK? I think most certainly not. I've seen many people try to protest with him. Last state visit, many viewers try to protest and basically say, "We don't want you in our country." Well, sorry, you're a small minority who can't see the bigger picture, that they are our biggest allies, and well, essentially, we need to have a good, strong relationship with them. That's what we need. And to think otherwise is absolutely ridiculous. Trying to protest a state visit's not going to achieve anything. If anything, you're frustrating people. You're making, essentially, the quiet majority. Now, I use this term a lot, of left versus right, Brexit versus Remain versus Leave, of the left wing or the Remain, they are a minority, but my God, they're one hell of a loud minority. With how loud they are, they're like a bunch of cracking ducks that you've at a pond, and they've just seen you walking with a packet of crisps or a loaf of bread, and they all come crowding around you, quack, 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 quack. So quack, 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 they all come running. And they did that when Donald Trump came to visit us. So you definitely need to respect that America did vote for him, and just as much as we need to respect their politics, they do need to respect ours as well, as Obama found it the hard way when he tried to meddle in our politics and try to say we're going to be back to the queue for the EU. No one liked that. No one likes us to don't meddle, but certainly come, respect and negotiate. We're all open to cooperation. And also regarding this issue, we've got a message coming from Mr. Bowyer. So he says that Donald Trump was democratically elected by the American people, and we have to respect their decision and maintain our special relationship with America. Quite right. I couldn't have said it better myself, to be honest with you. You're spot on. In fact, you've said what I've tried to explain for like the past 10 minutes in 2 sentences. So perhaps maybe next time you should definitely come on and write what I say, or better still, let's discuss this next time you're on the TPN podcast, Tommy. That'd be a good day. That would be a good idea. You should, in fact, even if you aren't able to properly join us on the podcast, you should definitely have a phone in, because that would be a good little thing to have a little discussion and what you're thinking at the time on a particular topic. So that would always be interesting. So yeah, Couldn't put it better myself, Tommy. Donald Trump was indeed democratically elected by the American people. And yes, you're right. We do have to respect the Americans' decision, and we also need to make sure that we do maintain the relationship that we do have. Yeah, that is exactly right. That is what many people on the left who just see Donald Trump as, they put their goggles on and just see racist. That's what they think. That's what the left think. And if that's all they see and not about the prospects of the relationship with America, regardless of who's running the country, we still need to maintain that relationship, regardless of your views on Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump, I've already stated what I think of him. I think I've already said what I think of him. There's a lot of good things about him. There's a lot of things I don't agree with him. That's America for you. It's a very volatile climate. Let's just say that for sure. So I want to pass it off to you. What do you think about Donald Trump to the UK? Do you welcome his visit? I do welcome his visit to the UK. That special relationship is very important indeed. He becoming in full force and all that good stuff. So I think that sums up what we're doing for today. To be honest with you, let's see what other things has been in the news today. Well, one of them was Sir Philip Green. Now you probably remember Sir Philip Green of BHS going bankrupt and broke. Now he's actually been charged with sexual assault. Yes, typical of what rich old men tend to do now. I say that as a general term. That sounds awful. But British retail tycoon, after he couldn't cough up his pensions, he basically raided pension pot of BHS and basically couldn't be bothered to cough him up and declared bankruptcy. Absolutely